Hello everyone, I don't know if you can see it, but we're at the Proton test track, which means there's only one car that we're here to test out, and it's the Proton S70 sedan. Now this is a C-segment sedan that Proton says goes up against the Honda Civic and the Toyota Corolla, and it's even brought along a Mercedes A200 for us to compare it against. Is this car as good as those cars? Well, we'll spend a few short hours with the car to find out. Let's go. First, a bit of housekeeping. Proton has yet to launch the S70 and hasn't even provided us with a launch date, so we don't know how much it's gonna cost. But given that production has already begun, it should happen very soon. We have heard that it will be priced within the ballpark of the Honda City and Toyota Vios, so expect to pay somewhere around the region of 80 to 100,000 ringgit. The City and Vios are B-segment sedans, and the idea is that with the S70, you get a physically bigger car with more features and greater performance. The S70 is Proton's first all-new sedan since the Persona was introduced in 2016, and it marks the company's return to the C-segment since the Prevé was discontinued in 2020. It's actually larger than the Toyota Corolla, and it's wider and taller than the Civic too, although its wheelbase is quite a bit shorter than both. That's because the S70 isn't quite a C-segment sedan underneath. It's based on Geely's B-segment modular architecture shared with the X50, and it uses a rudimentary torsion beam rear suspension instead of the multi-links you find elsewhere in the segment. For those of you who don't know, the Proton S70 is based on the Geely Emgrand, which is also available on sale in China and the Philippines. Now, in those markets, it is sold primarily as a quite basic B-segment plus sedan with less in the way of tech, safety features, and a naturally aspirated engine. But here, because we are an aspirational market, we get a turbocharged engine and pretty much everything in terms of tech and safety features, but only for specific variants. So let's go have a closer look. Now, you can see that it's quite a handsome, if a little bit utilitarian, some might say boring design. You can see that you've got these sharp headlights, and if you look closely, the grille is really the only thing that differentiates the S70 from the Emgrand. As you can see, you have these sort of diamond pins, or what Proton calls the songket pattern, as well as the material bow on the top and the bottom. Now, the headlights are full LEDs, they're not adaptive, but they are projectors unlike the X90, and they do have a auto high beam function, but again, only for specific variants. Along the side, you can see that again, it's fairly standard looking sedan. You have a very straight shoulder line, and you've got the very traditional 3-window design, and on the Flagship and Flagship X models, you have 17-inch two-tone alloy wheels. Moving along towards the back of the car, you have the wide, kind of Audi-like taillights with a very interesting 3D effect and a large rear diffuser. One thing that's interesting about the back of the S70 are the full LED taillights, which have 190 LEDs. Now, this allows you to have this sort of light show when you unlock the car. As you can see, it sweeps all around, coming towards the back, and it looks really, really cool. Staying at the back of the car, you have a 500-liter boot, which is pretty big, if not the largest in its segment. You also have a Space Saver spare tire with the toolkit nestled inside. It's a mix between a quite basic car and a well-equipped one, so it remains to be seen how people will respond to this sort of car. Now, let's have a look at the interior. Inside, it's actually quite a nice place to sit. It's very minimalist and very modern, and it's full of tech, and yet you have the physical controls that you want, such as the aircon controls, and the steering wheel buttons are hard buttons instead of capacitive touch switches, which is all very good. Now, in front of me is a 10.25-inch digital instrument cluster, and it shows the speedometer and the car surroundings. Now, if I press the menu button, I can personalize what's on the screen on the left. You can have this sort of circular ref counter, or you can have this bar ref counter, or you can have the ref counter at the bottom. Although actually, to be fair, there isn't really all that much that you can play around with. Now, in the center, you have a 12.3-inch touchscreen, which as usual runs on Proton's Atlas infotainment system. You can see that there is a very CarPlay-like display. If you swipe, you can see all your apps. You've got Spotify, you've got Shock for online radio, and you've got Jukes Music. And if you scroll to the right, you can enter your maps. You also have a 360-degree camera, which has a 3D function as well. So that's really, really cool. The one downside is that this system still does not support Apple CarPlay or Android Auto, which is a real shame considering that the Smart #1, which should use very similar hardware, does have those systems equipped. Moving on, you have a wireless charger down here, and if you put your phone, if you can grab it, you put it down here, it will charge. Now, if you don't want to use the wireless charger, you can put your phone underneath the center console in this storage space down here. So you can see you have space for any sort of phone or even a tablet, and you have a 12-volt socket, and over on the far left you have a USB-C port. As you can see down there, you have a T-shaped electronic gear selector for the DCT transmission, more on that later, and you've got an electronic parking brake as well. Now, the really cool thing about this center console is this armrest. As you can see, there is quite a lot of storage, and best of all, you can remove this cup holder, and that means you've got a lot of space down here for, I don't know, putting a handbag or even an iPad or something. So that's really, really thoughtful. Other things of note, you have a glass sunroof, and the interesting thing about this is that it does have a manual sunshade, and there are weirdly no buttons for you to control the sunroof opening and closing mechanism. What you have to do in this car is say, "Hi Proton."
Yes, I'm here.
Open the sunroof.
Opening the sunroof.
So there you are. Not as convenient as having buttons, but I guess it works well enough, I suppose. In terms of material quality, you've got quite nice soft touch materials with this sort of fake stitching, and down here you've got the songcat pattern that's repeated in the grille. Now, as on the doors, you have lots of hard scratchy plastics, which is not what you'd find in proper C-segment models like the Honda Civic and Toyota Corolla. Those will have proper soft touch materials on the doors, but other than that, it's actually quite a nice place to be. Now, let's check out the back. Oh, I forgot to mention, you do get a powered driver's seat, but the passenger seat, even on this Flagship X model, still has a manual passenger seat. Oh, by the way, the sunroof is only on the Flagship X model. Now, finally, let's go to the back. Back here, and as expected, it is very comfortable. You can see that I have plenty of legroom, and I can slide my feet underneath the front seats, and headroom is also pretty good. As you can see, you have rear aircon vents, which is to be expected for a car at this price range, and you have two USB ports, one USB-C, another USB-A, and there's a slot for you to put your mobile phone. And over here you have a center armrest with two cup holders down here. Now, finally, we can go for a drive. Let's go. So the S70 is powered by a 1.5-litre turbocharged engine. This is not the direct injector engine that you find in the X50. This is instead the port injection engine that's also used in the lower models of the X50. So it makes 148 horsepower and 226 Newton meters of torque, and it's mated to a 7-speed dual clutch transmission. From what I can tell, the throttle response is quite good. The car doesn't feel like it's overly stressed, which is very typical of a turbocharged car. Yeah, it doesn't feel very high-strung like you find on, like, say, a Honda Civic or a Toyota Vios. Steering feels quite nice and progressive, not too much coming from the wheel. Let's see how we do on the slalom. So we go a bit faster. Nice, good grip. A little bit understeery, but that's to be expected. This is not a sports car. So being a turbocharged car, quite a lot of torque. It goes up the hill very, very effortlessly. It does roll quite a fair bit, but again, this is supposed to be a comfort-oriented sedan. This is not like a Satra GTI or something, so that's completely fine. We're coming up now to a rough road section, I believe, so we're going to go up to 60 kilometers per hour. Stay there. Far. Wow, it's very, very smooth. Doesn't really have any problems with going over these. Oh, the compression is a little bit rough, but yeah, it's a very, very comfortable car. There was the worry that because this car has a torsion beam rear suspension, that it will, you know, have a slightly not very sophisticated ride, but I am very, very surprised that this is actually very, very good. Proton also conducted a drag race between the S70, the Honda City, and the Toyota Vios. With turbo torque and a power advantage of as much as 40 horsepower, it handily beats the other two, getting from 0 to 100 km per hour in 9.3 seconds. That's a second quicker than the City and 2 seconds quicker than the Vios. One thing I want to point out is the initial throttle response, which is a bit slow. There's around a half-second delay between hitting the throttle and the car actually accelerating, which can make the S70 feel sluggish, even though it's actually quite quick once it gets going. This can actually be a bit dangerous, especially in sport mode. The delay is still there, so you press the throttle and wonder when you're gonna accelerate, and then the turbo boost comes all at once and you spear forwards very suddenly. We are driving pre-production models here, so hopefully Proton has sorted this out with the customer cars. Unlike the Geely Emgrand, the S70 is available with a whole host of driver assists, including autonomous emergency braking and level 2 semi-autonomous driving features like adaptive cruise control and lane centering assist. However, these features are only offered on the Flagship and Flagship X models. The Executive and Premium models don't even get AEB. At least you get 6 airbags as standard, so there's that. So there you have it, that's the new Proton S70. I think it is actually quite an impressive car. It looks great, it's got quite a nice cabin, and the performance is actually not too bad. But I think the real surprise here is the comfort of this car, especially given the torsion beam rear suspension. But what do you think? Let us know in the comments down below. And what do you think this car would be priced at? Again, comments below. If you enjoyed this video, give us a thumbs up, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and ring the notifications bell icon so you don't miss any of our future videos. Read all the latest tech news on searchandchow.com, and you can also find us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter or X, and TikTok as well. As always, stay awesome. I'll see you in the next one. Bye!